Failure. 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 It could be worse. Welcome to Failure with Kenya Elan, a podcast for losers. I'm very excited for my guest today, DMB, musician, staff writer for the Chicago Reader with a focus on social justice. Also the first one on the dance floor every damn time, no matter what. They will be throwing ass. I think that'll be next year. Next year you should add that category: best person, best on the dance floor, best. Just go for it and not give a fuck. Yes. But welcome, DMB, to Failure Pod. Excited to have you. How are you doing today? How's your week been? It's been an interesting week in just Chicago.
I'm doing. Yeah, this is true. I had a really busy week, like beforehand, getting ready for like Best of Chicago releases and writing a lot of stuff about like Brandon Johnson and stuff. And then like the editors sort of take over on Tuesday, and the writers kind of just sit back while they complete the article. I mean, like
complete the process,
the newspaper. Yeah. So it was a little more laid back for me, luckily, but always full of energy and excitement in the city of Chicago.
Never lacking energy. I mean, there is definitely a new work. I mean, the seasons are changing. It is like peak time. It was a very stressful week, I feel like, leading up to Tuesday, the election on Tuesday, and just like who were we going to be following in terms of like the evil white man that was Paul Vallis or the potentially hopeful Brandon Johnson.
Yeah, that was wild. The outspoken right winger.
Yes,
that too many people wanted it all.
Yeah, it's great. It is great. Okay, it is. I am happy about the outcome. Obviously, it is insane that the margins are so close. But I'm also excited because I feel like the youth vote jumped up, which was cool to see. I read that the other day that it went up like 30%. This is a podcast about facts and figures.
No, I saw there was like more turnout from like the younger folk in the runoff than like folks over like 35, 40 or whatever. So
yeah, awesome. No, that was exciting to see. And also just a general sort of sigh of relief. I feel like, at least personally, I'm like, I am hopeful. And I feel like that's all I can really be at the current moment. It's just like, this is exciting to see. It seems like we've held off some sort of evil potentially, but who knows? You know?
I definitely had a sigh of relief too. I remember like leaving the voting booth, and one of the guys who was at the polling place, I told him I was waiting for Brandon Johnson or whatever, and he's like, you don't got a chance, good luck. And I was like as if he had like been seeing like Vallis people come in all day, so that I was like, oh damn, I guess that could happen. And then I was like, went home and I was like, like, is this 2016?
I know. No, yeah, I know. It was, I was very skeptical. I was super skeptical of all the like post-election parties that were like being planned. I was like, have we not learned? I was like, let's just wait and see what happens.
Post-election party.
And like celebrate and
go vote.
Right, exactly. No, I will say I had
pick someone up to vote.
I had a small like positive moment. I was like walking up to like the Wicker Park Library to go vote early or whatever, and I just saw this like white lady pull up to she pulled up and like stopped her car like weirdly in this like parking space, and I was about to get mad at her because she was like, lady, like, I'm right here, you know what I mean? But she stopped to get out of her car and take the Paul Vallis sign and like took it and like threw it in the trash, and I was like and I looked at her, I just like made eye contact with her, and I was like, okay. You know what I mean? I was like, all right, you're good, we're good, let's do this. Yeah, totally. I support this. Like, please almost hit me to like take that out. Totally. No, yeah, I don't know. We'll see what happens. I watched his speech a little bit, sorry, and we'll get away from this, but I don't know. It's just like, it was just such a tense moment. And I feel like now with like the summery weather that we're having, I feel like everyone's kind of just like, yeah, like, let's get into it, you know?
Now I'm feeling like also kind of hopeful. Yeah, it seems like he's eager to sort of distribute funds towards organizations that have been like not distributed funds to's.
Yes.
He seems I'm just
curious to see.
It's just eager to have someone supported by the Chicago Teachers Union, and just a politician is a politician, so let's see what's up. I know his stances on some things related to Palestine. I have questionable, but
I didn't hear about that. See, exactly, and that's how it goes. See, and that's where it goes.
I'm like,
we're pro-Palestine in this podcast, just so everybody knows. Come at me, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, so I'm like, eager to just. He's a guy, but he's
yes. Well, okay. The thing that I'm concerned about is I feel like the internet is also really fucking up politicians. I feel like a lot of them. I feel like politicians have always wanted to be famous. There's always like that side of them. There's like most of them are just like not attractive enough to like get to that point. You know what I mean? It's like that's like DC is their ugly. Hollywood, right? It's DC is is Hollywood for like
ugly people.
Sixes and lower. Like that's just what it is. Unfortunately, and they know this. You know what I mean? Like Obama broke that mold, and like we have a few here and there that like can like. In terms of just like hotness. I'm not saying that I support everything.
No, I agree. He's like handsome drone king.
Yes, but like there are a few here and there that break through. That are like maybe you know what I mean, an 8 or a 9 or like a 10. It's few and far between. But for the most part, like it's very clear. Who are you about to say?
The Republican guy.
Oh, what?
He's handsome though.
Which one? Who? Paul. What Republican do you think is handsome?
No, you're talking about random people who are handsome in DC.
Right.
Oh, like if we had to just look at their faces.
Right. If we had to talk about our top 5. No, but yes, there are those. Right. Google it, please. We need to know. But I feel like with that, and also with the internet and like viral moments, I don't know, it's like you saw it with Lori. It's like I feel like Lori focused more so on like creating these like viral TikToks and like, you know what I mean, putting on a costume than like actually focus on doing the job. She was like, she's like, yeah, the city's going to hell and it's fully my fault. But you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna do that, like, remember that, the trend where like you do a fake like recording session and like people would pull up their like cell phone lights and it'd like be like a tin can as the microphone, and like she did that and it was just like, bro, it was like, this is not it. It was like they're all just, I feel like there's a want
performative
to be,
nature, but not to, you don't want to really connect or listen. You just want to like
just
appear.
Nerdy as fuck, and so it's just like, this is not nerdy. Hitting right,
but be nerdy for like my rights,
right? Exactly. Let's focus on that. And
that's Paul Ryan.
Yeah. Oh. Oh my God, Debbie. Oh my God. You had a crush on Paul Ryan.
No, not a crush. I'm just saying, if you're looking at, like, they're all ugly.
Okay,
like his eyes are like.
But he's what? You saying he's ugly or he's attractive?
He's more attractive.
Oh my God. Totally. Wow. I'm learning your type.
No types. Please listen.
But yeah, I just feel like I am hopeful for him, but it's like, please don't get too caught up. And his speech was like a little Obama-y and very much like trying to go down that route. And it's like, yes, you're from Chicago. Yes, you're a black man. Like, yes, all these things. But please don't try to be that. Just be nerdy ass you and be nerdy for my rights.
Right. And like you could tell all these stories. Like instead of, I feel like that's a response I've seen from politicians, even a little from Johnson. It's like just telling a story. When someone just asks you a question about a policy, like tell a story about your life. And I'm like I know Joe Biden does that sometimes. But we don't have, we could just
we don't need just get to the part that affects my life. I don't need to know anything else, but don't tell me anything about you. Don't tell me anything about you.
You get one thing.
Right. Yeah.
Every 15 minutes.
Stick to me, okay? How is this going to benefit me?
Right, because my taxes are eating me up.
Right, exactly. Oh my gosh. So yeah, we'll see what the fuck happens. Fingers crossed it goes okay. But yeah, we'll see. But no. This is not a politics podcast. This is a podcast about failure and process and trying and it not working and all of that.
Not winning, failing.
Yes, this is not winning podcast. This is failure. But on that note, and the reason I wanted to have you here is I think I very much. I saw your birthday show at the Dorothy, and that was such a lovely combination of like, one, what you do, but then also just like the way you enveloped your family into all of that was like really lovely to see. And just seeing everyone's different talents and just like also fully understanding where all like, so you're all just at a 9 and that's me being nice. You know what I mean? Like love them all.
Not
like
nice
love
9.
Yes. Also your mom hot as hell. It was just like
I'm
whoa.
just another bitch when I go home. Like I'm quiet at home.
You're the quiet one.
I
yeah.
swear. Like, you okay?
No, yeah, entirely. No, I can't imagine. I cannot imagine the combination. That has got to be wild. But no, that was such a lovely night, and it was such a great showcase of like you and what you're. I feel like I'm part of what you're about. And so with that, I feel like the combination of yes, you being a musician, but also like having this like journalistic background. Just how getting there, if there's a moment that sticks out to you in terms of just like trying and failing, but yeah, getting to this point and like what that has felt like, what you've experienced. So yeah,
for sure. You know, I guess I'll talk more about my writing background. I feel like as a musician, well, I feel like in Chicago, like you really can do whatever if you just get a few people together and you know how to email some venues and you can play a couple major chords. If like like if you really wanted to have a band going. And there are people who are like that. So shout out to the major chords. No. Literally
top 5.
I have a major tonality, so nothing wrong with that. But like, you know, but I feel I've like in my journalism, you know, I went to Northwestern for undergrad. I focused mostly on like multimedia and stuff, even though I wrote at a like Black interest newspaper, and I was editor-in-chief. I helped like relaunch it, and that was like my journalistic safe space. Because like you write for the other newspapers, and I'm like, oh, I want to write about like Black women experiencing this, and they're like, why do you want to focus on them so much? Like all women really matter. Like they matter like a lot, and so it's like really just nice to just be not have all of my interests considered like marginal or like
just constantly questioning it. It's like, well, who's gonna want to hear about this? And it's like that other large portion of the population that, you know what I mean, that's on this campus / just exists in life. Yeah.
Precisely. Yeah. But like getting into journalism is really, really hard. I never really thought I'd have a writing job. I thought I'd like do like social media or like video for a nonprofit, which I really love doing too. Cause like you know, applying for like internships and then like no one responds, obviously, or applying for like it's everyone's experience. I remember like, what was it? Like the first time I got published outside of a school publication was in 2021. It was at the Reader, actually. Ding. And I wouldn't like be published again there for like another like 10 months, but it was still like it was cool. But like those first few pieces are like, you're like, oh my gosh, I need to have like at least 3 pieces so I can tell people that I'm a writer. Like, and it's like so hard to get. Like I had like on my vision board like these 10 circles, and every time I would get one printed, I would just be like, oh you have 2 done. Like try to get to 5 by the end of like I was like, it was like so stress inducing. I remember the first freelance like long-term gig I got was with Healthline. What's
Healthline?
So Healthline is the #1 health like news resource. So if you Google like why does my back hurt, like Healthline's gonna pop up. And it's gonna be like, okay, this is why your back hurts. Like, oh, this is how we like this is what the studies say. It's like, oh, like if you're trans and your back hurts, like, like it's very inclusive.
Oh, that's nice. Okay.
Like it's very it's run by like journalists and like clinicians, and I, you know, hand me a little job there. This is my failure story. So I did like 3 or 4 pieces with them before they told me they never wanted me to write for them again.
Like, we're not giving you any warnings.
No. Okay. Well, I had 3 pieces that were pretty, but I think it was reasonable. I'm gonna tell you what happened. I'm gonna tell you why.
Yes.
Why it makes sense why it was. So like they like want you to, you know, write it based off of like the health like report or the survey that was made. And I also feel like as a freelancer, when you don't have like an editor working with you direct, like these kinds of like problems happen in a newsroom too, but you have an editor who's like Debbie, like step out of it. Like, okay,
Yeah.
really quick, turn that shit around.
Yeah,
As a
you have
freelancer,
guidance. Yeah.
you're like by yourself, and then then you send it in, like you're all excited, and they're like, "Damn, we're done with you."
Right, you're like you have no
There's no job security.
help. Right, there's no safety net. There's no checks and balance. There's
Yeah.
It's just
So-
like we thought you could do this, and it's like, what do you mean?
It's like it was pretty. I mean, I have some articles up there. Hit me up, you know.
Right.
But so what was it? So they were. I guess like when I was like taking from the reports that I had, I was like using the language a little too similar to the report. But I'm like, listen, if I'm telling you it's coming from this report and this is what they, why wouldn't I just tell you what they said?
right.
Like they're the expert. Like, you want me to change it up?
Did you put it in quotes?
I had.
You're like, no, I didn't. I just copy and pasted.
No.
You're like, this sounds good. This sounds
No,
right.
listen, it wasn't like an 8th grade copy and paste. Like it was like I don't know. I
It
don't
was a
listen.
more advanced copy.
It
and
was
paste.
certainly more advanced. It was
Hell yeah.
it was a 14th grade. It was like 3 sentences around that just happened to be identical to the report. And then they also, I think another key part of this is that like Healthline is like the way that they write to their audience is very like soft and careful. It's like so I had to do this
They're
one
not
piece.
trying to immediately make you feel like you have cancer if you Google
or,
something.
or like to be like, you're gonna die if you do this.
Right,
Like to be
yeah.
like seek help because like we want to take care of you. Like
Right.
the tone of their publication is very much like, which I thought, you know, I'm very thoughtful and kind in that way, but I had to do this one article about alcohol, like abuse and how people are infected. And I guess I was like, I was too stern and I was speaking to them, but I was like, what was I saying?
So you were stealing other people's sentences and also maybe just being a little too mean about
I
people's.
was mean as fuck. Like, I was like, if you do this and you do this, like, you're done. Like, and they literally sent me a letter. They were like, we don't like to talk to our audience this way.
you're being a little too direct. You're like, you've touched on the point a little too hard. No,
right. So,
yeah.
so I think the ultimate issue is like for like 2 of my articles, I did like 5 of them. They had to do a little bit more editing than they wanted to, which you know they don't want you to be like totally self-sufficient. So they were like, all right, so it's been it's been good, you know.
Thanks for trying.
We'll take part. Nah, that messed me up bad.
Really?
You know, when that happened,
Were
that
you
messed me
reeling?
up. That messed me up so bad. Oh my god.
Was that your one of your first like big jobs?
Well, it was a freelancing. So freelancing is not really like solid, but I was but it's so hard to have any big organization like take a chance on you. So I'm like, oh my. I mean, I feel like moments like that are just like great learning moments. Like
Yeah.
I downloaded like this plagiarism like thing on my computer, and I just run just to make sure I'm not accidentally saying
that's
anything.
smart. I mean, yeah. I mean, in this day and age, there's a lot. Okay, the other part of it too is like there's a lot that's been written. You know what I mean? You can't be the first one. You can't be the first one to have this
every
idea.
original sentence has to
Right, exactly. Like you could have just. I mean, hell, I do comedy.
It was 4 sentences.
We've all, you know, everyone lives life, and we all poop and pee, and like there's things that we all do that's the same. It's like you can accidentally. It's like the number of times I've watched certain specials, and I'd be like, oh wow, I talk about that a lot, and I'm like, well, I can't anymore. You know what I mean? Like it's done now. So I feel you. I mean, that also makes sense. You also you're held to a much higher standard than I am. If I've accidentally ripped off a joke, there might be a person in the audience, or like, you know, every comedian in the back just thinking that I'm a hack, but that's fine. You have it's, you know what I mean? It's printed on paper, and like I can just walk
100%.
away from it. You
I
can't
see.
really walk away from
No.
it. That's why I created this podcast, so I get stuck with every word that I say.
Yes, no. So it was honestly a wonderful learning opportunity. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sure you do that like casually by when you're like half awake and you're in college or you're in high school. But like I'm like, okay, you're a journalist now. You can never do that. So
this is your job.
So it was like like yeah, okay, now like you need to get together. Like
Well, also, once again, going back to the internet, it's like we're all taking in so much. It's not unfathomable that you can repeat something that you saw on. I do that all the time.
I was honestly surprised. I was like, damn, I must have been like, I must have been like really tired, or like maybe I was really awake. That's the most like I've ever been.
OMG.
But yeah, it was like shortly after that I got this like year-long fellowship writing at the Evanston Roundtable in Evanston, reporting on reparations and the Black community in Evanston, which is like 5-6 generations old. And that fellowship was like also like I had an editor, like the writer that I was in the first 4 months does not reflect the writer that I was. Like I was a whole different person. I left there. So much like confidence as a writer, much more. But you know, those really horrible experience. You know. But you know, most people wouldn't talk about it. But this is what happens. Like, okay, this is what happens. So get over it. Okay,
right? No, yeah, and that's the other part too. It's also, I think, yeah, especially as you're, anytime you're starting anything new, to have. I mean, hell, I was at the gym the other day, like taking a class, and just having like the instructor sort of like nod at you a little bit, being like, "Yep, you're doing it right." Just like you don't need someone to fully hold your hand, but it doesn't hurt. You know what I mean?
It does not hurt me
right?
at
We
all.
could all use someone to hold our hand. You know what I mean? Guidance is not a bad thing. It's actually very much needed, and especially when you're putting yourself out there in that way, to have someone just be like, yes, you know what I mean, or maybe tweak this and this is helpful. And makes you feel, and like, am I insane? You know what I mean? Especially just to get the feedback of like, no, this isn't working, and it's just like, okay, you know, like, cool.
Right. Yeah. I definitely feel like, you know, one day I'll like, I want to be like an editor, and I'm like, I'll be that editor for other people. You know, I can't really expect that from everyone, I guess.
Yeah.
But
no, yeah. Some people are just not good at that. Some people just
like,
are not capable of doing
they're
that.
like, who's this freelance? What?
Right.
You want to send them this email and get on my face?
Yeah. No. Yeah. And yeah, it's like, and I feel like it's also those people that have like been doing it forever and ever and ever, and they're so like not desensitized, but it's just like they've hit those walls so many times, and they're just like, yep, that's what happens. I feel like you and I kind of had a conversation like that one time about a very different topic, but it's like you just kind of get hardened, and then you're not necessarily receptive to someone who's feeling it for the first time, and you don't mean to shut them down. You're like in the callback. You don't mean to shut them down, and you don't mean to be like so flippant, but you end up coming off that way because it's like you've seen it, you know, and it's like you don't mean to be the asshole, but you end up being the asshole. And then you got to text somebody the next morning and be like, sorry, I was being annoying and a drunk jerk, but and then you try again, right? Yes, exactly. But that's also, I feel like, yeah, that's also I mean, not to take it to a whole other subject, but I feel like that's just like relationships and getting to know people. But and on that note, no, being friends as an adult, no, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, it's like walking away and be like, what was my experience? What was other people's experiences?
Right.
Whoa. My experience is valid. Their experience is valid.
Right.
They're just happening simultaneously.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. Yes. The amount of times it's like, the amount of times, especially when you get in such like, for myself, speaking for myself, getting into such like anxious and like anxiety riddled moments and just like spiraling in that, like just take like every meditation podcast is like, I'm not on any medications except for weed, but and alcohol, but that's not a medication, that's a poison. But
old style is a medication. I have a weekly prescription.
I am self-medicating
of 30. No.
But I feel like every meditation podcast is just like, think about the other people around you for a second, and everything gets a lot clearer, you know, like if you start to think of other people's experiences and like where they're coming from, things really clear up pretty quickly when you realize no one gives a fuck about you what you're spiraling about.
It's so nice. It's like, I don't even matter. It's like,
yeah,
yes.
Right.
My brain is lying to me.
Right. I'm like, we're on a floating rock. This is nothing. I'm one person amongst a bajillion trillion. Like, it's okay. Like, yes, I did try to hook up with that person last night and they fully shut me down, but like, whatever, that happens.
Just another day.
Exactly. Yeah. I can just, read the signs for the next person a little bit different. I don't know why I keep looking. If anyone's feeling that, I feel you. And this is why I am alone. But no, yeah. So to kind of switch it up, to switch to your music a little bit, if you're down to talk about it.
I'd love to.
One, how do you describe your music?
Yes.
Personally.
I would describe it in a few ways. I describe it as like alternative emo soul. Also like if Tracy Chapman was singing Midwestern emo.
Yes, I saw that. I saw that on your IG. That made me laugh. I was like, that's perfect. No, yeah.
No, someone came up and told me that after a show. They were like, it's like Tracy Chapman, but like, what is it? Like in the Midwest, like what is it? It's like, and I was like,
Midwestern emo, and I was like, oh wait, I know exactly. I was like, yes, I know exactly what this means. No, it's perfect.
yeah, which is so funny because I grew up in Connecticut, but listening to bands from the Midwest,
Right,
Like
yes.
when I moved here, I was like, oh my gosh, my favorite band is like in the
Wait,
suburbs.
who's your favorite?
Well, my favorite band from high school, so like real
yeah.
friends,
Okay.
is like one of my favorite bands from high
Oh
school.
damn, I don't know that one. Sorry.
Good, right?
As
So,
someone who grew up in this area.
it's okay. There's so
whatever.
many different layers to like pop
Plain White
punk.
Tees went to my high school. Actually saw a
Every
dude from-
second counts.
I grew up. I was height of. I was in the
They're
middle
from
of
here.
all.
I did
yeah.
not know that.
Yeah, I ran into what's his face? Tom? Was that guy's name? The lead singer?
It's giving Tom
I ran into him at Blockbuster when I
Please.
was
a metaphor.
in like a sophomore or junior in high school. I was obsessed with Blockbuster because there was also a guy that worked there that looked like. Do you remember Connor Oberst?
Mm-mm.
Okay, well that's a musical reference that I have.
He said 1 point for Kenya.
Oh, do you remember Bright Eyes? Do you remember the band Bright Eyes?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, he was a lead singer of Bright Eyes. Also, he might be canceled, so like whatever. But there's a guy who worked at Blockbuster who looked like him, and so I would go in there all the fucking time because I was like, this guy looks just like him, and he was also like,
That's kind of fun.
yeah, it was also like
photos
not-
or anything.
No, I have no photos
Okay,
of this person,
that's
but it
pretty
was just
good.
like a very pale, like white guy with like really dark hair and
Okay.
like big eyes, and like
We all need something. A win is a win.
it wasn't a win. I would just go in there and like just constantly rent DVDs. I was also just like
Okay.
obsessed with whatever. So this is just whatever. Okay.
No, I mean I loved like renting like CDs and stuff and DVDs from my library growing up.
yes,
so-
that was I feel like that's
That
that's
was my
coming back.
Blockbuster. Blockbuster.
I feel like these things need to come back though, honestly, because especially with like streaming services now. Sorry, this is like a whole other tangent, but with streaming services and like also how much they're like cutting back on their content, it's like, damn, I do miss a box set. I do miss like having the physical copy of this. Like everyone was like, oh, we don't need it. It's like, actually, yeah, you do, because it shouldn't be controlled by one person, like the episode that you miss the most, you know?
It feels so like much more unrealistic because none of these devices they're selling accommodate like physical CDs or
Having
discs
them
or
anymore, right.
VCRs or whatever. So
Bring it all back. Bring it back.
I want to be 9 again.
Yeah.
Bring that shit back.
Yes, I want to be forced to rewind my tapes. Otherwise, I incur a fee, you know?
Give me the orange Rugrats movie tape.
Yeah.
Or give me death.
Exactly. No, exactly. But no, I asked you to describe your music, though. Were you an emo
Yes.
kid growing up?
Um,
Like, how would you describe yourself as like a middle school teenage Debbie? DMB. How
I was
would you-
very social at school, quiet at home.
Mm-hmm.
Started listening to a lot of like emo music, like when I was 14.
Mm-hmm.
But I also like listened to like a lot of like gospel and contemporary Christian because I played on hella worship bands. My parents are pastors. Ew. So I'm sincerely like, and I was like, hella sad. Shout out to all the sad kids. Kids deserve just hugs. Anyways,
yes.
so it was like the church music and then my emo music and then like random CDs I would get from like David Archuleta and Plain White Tees from the library.
Shout out to American Idol really having an influence
For a few seasons.
Yes,
For a
like
few
heavily
seasons.
impacted for a hot second there. Our musical choices. For real. Nowadays, who knows who the fuck's on that
who
show?
cares, right?
No one cares. It's
Right.
like, oh,
Like,
great.
get on TikTok.
But it's just
Like-
another season. You know what I mean? Like, are the ratings? Did you bring in the ratings? But
Sincerely, yes. And then as I got into like
I
yeah.
haven't heard that name in so long. Sorry, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, so fine. And then like my guitar teacher like would show me would teach me using like John Mayer and Green Day and all that. So like that was a lot of my like where my teaching came from. LOL, haha. But also I would teach myself. Like I would like learn entire like albums from my favorite bands on guitar and then like play them in my room and cry. And my parents would always let me just like play at like the latest hours. They'd be like, Debbie, you played us to sleep. Thank you.
That is nice.
It was
to
so
have.
nice. I literally, because I went to college, that was not it. They were like, shut the fuck up.
Like, Debbie, stop.
They're like, it's 10 p.m. I'm like, it's 10 p.m. Exactly.
Right, we're in college. You should be
How old are you?
awake.
How old are you? Okay, great.
But,
Okay.
yeah. No, that sounds nice. I've once again going back to your birthday show, it did feel like you really have had parents ever just like, yeah, do your thing. You know what I mean? Like, no judgment, no, like, this is weird, this is annoying, it's too late. It's just like you're expressing yourself, and we appreciate that. That's nice to have. Wish I had it. No, I'm just kidding. But
Bada bing, bada boom.
but no, I mean, that's an amazing gift to be given, especially as a young person. You know what I mean? And that, once again, going back to that guidance and just someone being like, yeah, that's cool, do your thing. You know what I mean? And like signing off and like, no, you're not crazy for like wanting to lay in your room and cry right now. That's pretty much you know what I mean? That's the
so
age.
True.
Like, that's the time. That's the time you're supposed to do
so
a lot of
true.
just like feelings.
Right. Yeah, even in like high school, like I was I was besties with the social worker. Me and her go way back. Not really. It was just because I was sad. And literally when, I'm sorry, I have to say this. Whenever I was sad, she'd be like, just come to the office and play guitar in the back room. I would literally go like 2 or 3 periods a week.
Yeah.
And just like, that was my way of like getting myself together. Which I like loved, so grateful, but I'm realizing just how I was validated in all those ways. Like even in school, my parents, like at church. Yeah.
No, having that validation.
was
No,
really
that's
great.
amazing. Yeah, to just kind of explore yourself and like, yeah. No, with that, I feel like I think in the time that we're in, obviously we're seeing a lot of different forms of like Black expression. I think that like that box is opening up. Maybe the lines are coming, the walls are coming down a little bit. I think there's still this fight to like how we define ourselves individually versus the collective. I feel like the collective still very much like has an impact on like, or not even the collective of how we see ourselves, but like how we've been defined through the decades, whatever.
Yes.
And so just your experience, I feel like, and just being who you are. Is this making sense what I'm saying? Okay, for sure. I was like, am I nailing the transition? I think I'm doing it. Because I feel like, yeah, for myself too, I've just not always fit into like whatever the expectation for what people were going to have or what they thought a Black person should be, what a Black woman should be, you know what I mean? All of that. So just for yourself, what that experience has been like, if you want to speak on that a little bit.
Yeah, I'd love to. I definitely like, you don't see a lot of like Black people as visible in emo these days. Like there are some,
Even though
really
we love
visible.
Paramore. Even though Black people love
Even though
Paramore.
Paramore's Black, like okay, I guess Paramore is a good example. Okay. That wasn't fair to them. But I definitely like have like thought about this, like because people, they're not because they're not familiar with seeing maybe Black person in like punk or rock, they assume those things are white because that's what they've seen. But I just encourage everyone to just resist those notions and to then just reclaim it, because we have a lot of history in these genres. So much. Shout out to Rosetta Thorpe. Eating up that guitar.
Right. Exactly.
So it definitely would, like, when people will be like, that's a very like white way of approaching it. And I'm like, you need to stop subscribing to the master's way of thinking, and to have some ownership of yourself and what you love. This is what I love, and I build Black community through this too. So it has been, especially when I see other people, like other Black people in like genres that like aren't like R&B and rap, that people like automatically ascribe us to, which are both beautiful. I love me some R&B and rap. Listen. That's just not like how my pen naturally flows right now. I'm whatever, but. So it, I think it has been because I have that like inner clarity for myself, where I'm like, oh, I know that like I'm a. Can I say that N-word?
Yes, you can.
I know I'm a nigga. Like I, I know who I am. Like I know what I come from. So when someone comes to me and is like, oh, like you're like you have like this whiny or like this other. Even though they haven't really, I don't know, because they're not used to seeing a different style, or like, like they can like sort of like poke fun at it, and I'm like, that's very weird behavior. Have you ever written a song? Have you ever done anything that you're passionate about? But it, I don't know. I do love what I do. I love what I create, and the people that I create it with, you know, are invested in me. And I love to just show people, like, literally do what comes to you. And then through that experience, you realize, like, oh, okay, the world is kind of weird about this stuff sometimes, but it's a great, like, learning opportunity.
And you still end up finding your people. That's the thing. It's like, okay, fine. I feel like that's the biggest thing that I'm still sort of like learning, or that whatever I've continued to experience is just like, okay, fine. Those people that it's like you weren't fine. You weren't going to get it anyway. So whatever.
Like, oh, it's like,
you know what I mean? Right.
Yeah. Or like when we talk to you, like, oh, you're one. Okay. It's like I don't have the energy to go through this with you. Like, like how old are we? Like, I'm not 14. I'm sorry. But I feel like those are like the sorts of questions that I mean, it makes sense. You know, when your identity is not totally like more formed or whatever. But there also is just like a lack of Black alternative like shows, like entire lineups in Chicago, and that's just something I'm passionate about. So I hope to bring more of that. Yeah. Because there are like a lot of bands and like Black and BIPOC bands, that like exist and play these shows, but there's like no one, I feel like, intentionally trying to bring them together all the time.
Together on one bill. Yeah.
But that's what I really love to do. So hopefully we just get more of that. Yeah.
No, yeah, I feel you. Yeah, I mean, I feel like definitely I will say there is one show that I'm a big, comedy-wise, I feel like that's kind of a similar thing. It's rare, at least like North Side, it's rare to see that many of us, whatever, on one bill. That's why I'm a big fan of, like, I don't know, have you ever been to My Best Friend's Black here at the Lincoln Lodge? No. It's a great show because they also do a really nice job of, one, I think, combining both North comics, that Black comics that might do well on the North Side, Black comics that might do better on the South Side, whatever, combining those two things. But then just one, it's like, I did their Women's History Month show last year, but just have this full lineup of like all Black women, and just like seeing that we were all coming from like, none of us were talking about the same thing. None of us were touching those same topics. You know what I mean? Right. Because we were 6 different people that are experiencing 6 different lives.
6 different people.
Right. But just that, it's like there's always this idea that like, okay, well, we can have 1 or 2 of you, because like if we have too many, you're all going to talk about the same thing anyway. It's the same thing with like myself being a female comic. It's like, no, we're not all going to talk about the same thing. Just like you all don't talk. Well, actually, you all do talk about the same thing, but whatever. That's a story for another day. But you know,
I think that's go ahead.
But yeah, it's just continuing to push those opportunities to show that there's a lot of different facets, and you will not be bored for those 2 hours that you happen to be watching this show. It's gonna, you know what I mean?
I have, like when I was reporting on like Black people in Evanston, I loved reporting on Black people, and I've had a lot of people come up to me and were like,
"Were you reporting during the time when they decided to give people reparations?"
That was what I was reporting.
That was what you were reporting. Oh, that makes sense. That's what you said. Okay, sorry.
Honestly, I accept you. So, so many like white reporters would come to me and be like, don't you feel like bored, like focusing on like or limited, or do you feel like you don't have as many stories to write because you're focused? I'm like,
just
what?
On the Black community in Evanston.
I'm like, what?
I was like, have you seen very many of these stories to begin with? Like, what?
So I think it's just a testament to how little they see us at all. They're like, if there's more, like, it's confusing. It doesn't make and like even in like journalism, like when you think of like when I'm like doing history and looking at like the archives and trying to find out what happened in history, you always have to go to the Black newspapers to figure out what actually happened for Black people, because these people don't record history, right? Like, and it's so it's literally so embarrassing. Yeah, and it's like, and so I'm just like so like hyper aware of my role in like recording history, like as part of the archive, because
the lack of perspective within major publications,
those
major
because they don't have Black writers, Black editors, and so like I'm just so aware of like how much they're missing, because you don't understand that you can have 5 different Black editors showing you different things,
right? All have different focuses, all have different things that they give a fuck about,
right?
Right. Yes, it's just funny to live in a country that's so much focused on like the melting pot and like all these people coming together, and it's like, but we only have all of our reference points are all from one perspective, and they're white and male. Like from science to any industry, truly any industry, it's all from one perspective, and we're slowly chipping away at like providing more of that. But yes, the idea that like what could you possibly have to say
Like,
that hasn't been
right,
said already? It's like, we know about slavery, and it's just like, what are you talking? You know what I mean? It's like, that's the thing.
It's like if it's confusing to like a white man.
You just got so turned off. You're just like disgusting.
No, I'm literally. I'm thinking of like the 5 races or whatever in the United States that like white men are like they're like, yes, I got Asians and blacks and Hispanics and like and whatever like, and they're just like, that's what they need to just feel comfortable and like this is what makes sense. And it's like, sweetheart, like it gets more complicated than that. Right. Especially like, I'm black and Dominican. Oh my God. Let's just move on.
No, right?
Just
No, I know, and that's another thing too. But no, yeah, because you and I have had like, I've been privy to. We've had discussions about this because you being black and Dominican, me being black, and my mom being Norwegian. This is a nice way of saying white, whatever. But like but also having the sorry, I'm getting heated. Cancel. But yeah, that me. But that other girl though. But yes, those gray areas and how much America struggles with the gray areas. I mean, look at just in terms of like everyone. It's like
the gray area.
Just the one everyone, just the top of mind what everyone's struggling with outside of just like the races commingling, but and ethnicities commingling, but like the amount of comics I'm seeing trying to make like they them jokes, really trying to get in on that, and it's just like maybe you don't. Maybe it's not. You know what I mean? Maybe
it's not funny.
Right, exactly. Especially as a person who doesn't identify in that, under that umbrella. It's like all you're showing is like you're really struggling to see the gray, you know? Which is wild. Yeah. Yeah.
That part.
Right. It's like, and personally myself growing up in that gray area, I'm like, this is all a bunch of bullshit. Personally, you know what I mean?
I also feel like even like my family's like Dominican, my mom's side is like all, and they're also like all like mostly dark skin, and many of them are like very confused about their identity. Like I feel like Dominican, like dark skin and like Latinx people like are not given the language to understand their identity in this country because people are like, you're black or like you're Dominican or like, so then, and they're also, there's the colonialism in the DR or whatever, right. But it's also how like people talk to them, like what are you, like they say I'm Dominican, like no you're not, you're this, and folks are like I guess like am I black, am I this, and they just choose whatever people will accept, and it's
right, what's the easiest to get along,
because people like don't want to see the gray, and it's confusing for those people, for Dominicans. So like I kind of have like a lot of sympathy for like some Dominicans who are like I'm not black, I'm Dominican, because that's their way of trying to sit in this fucking mental conundrum white space.
Well, because I feel like black also is very much associated with Black American, and it's very much associated with that experience.
Exactly.
And so
Black Americans don't like to be like I'm American. Black Americans don't like to say I'm African American.
Right.
And but like I have to say that sometimes because I have a black experience that isn't mostly American. Right. So Black Americans don't really know how their experience is very American sometimes.
Right. It's wild to and it's that, and then it's the constant sort of like labeling from other people who are trying to they're trying to process who you are as a person, and so they're very much quick to toss whatever sort of labels at you. It's like people are happy to like, it's with me it's always confusing. I did this like diversity workshop thing, Christine and I did it a couple weeks ago, and somebody came up to me, they're like, are you Brazilian, because you look Brazilian, and I was like no, I was like I also get Puerto Rican a lot because I live in Humboldt Park. It's like I just got a white mom, you know what I mean? It's like I'm black and I have a white mother. Like
my brother looks like you and also gets Puerto Rican.
Right. I used to, I don't say this anymore, but I used to be like, I'm the Puerto Rican princess of Humboldt Park, but I would say that to myself.
Puerto Ricans, there are a lot of black Puerto Ricans, so that's fine. Well, as a Dominican, I feel like I can, okay, go on.
No, what are you going to say? We're both just like
Puerto Ricans are like my cousins. Like those are my homies. Dominican food is always a little better, but those are my homies, so I feel very comfortable with them because our cultures are very similar. So I'm like, I'm Puerto Rican princess. Yeah.
I cannot say that at all.
but then you're like,
I took 6 years of, just the fact that I took 6 years of Spanish and I don't remember a goddamn word. I can't say shit. I'm just like, this is just me.
Hola, ¿cómo estás?
Right. Yeah. What?
What? What was that?
But yeah, it's interesting, especially like one, wanting to define who I am, just and being confused, and like coming from a more of ambiguous presentation. I will say that's a thing. I mean, obviously this, tells you something, but
The context clues.
right, yeah. But between that, also just in terms of like identifying as a queer woman, as a femme, it's like some people putting different labels on myself, and it's like, and the thing that I always want to ask is like, wait, what makes you say that? You know what I mean? What did you see? What did you see that made you say that? Because that's like, I don't know that I would necessarily say that about myself, but you've said that about me now, and so now I'm just like, now I'm curious,
No, don't be curious.
Well, not really, but I'm just like, what? You know what I mean? It's like, what are you interpreting that's giving that off? Because it's like, you didn't ask me, especially in this time where so many people, that's the other part too. That's the other funny part is that there's so many people that are asking, or they're saying that you need to like be more mindful, ask whatever, figure out a way to introduce yourself in that way. But some of those same people that are asking for that aren't necessarily giving it. And I have come across that as well in terms of just sort of like placing labels on people. And that's why I honestly fucking hate them.
And I think especially when I think of like trans people who are like stealth, like cispassing because of like their, and I'm like, I'm sure their experience is very similar. Like people like trans masks who like people think are like cis men, and you're like, oh, this is what you are, haha. Like I'm woke, this is what you are, and it's like, all right, you really can you just ask somebody like before you start the conversation?
Right. Yeah, I mean it's just a quick sort of just like, so what's the deal? You know what I mean? Don't say it like that. That's not how you're supposed to say it.
Nah, I love to inquire because I want to know. I don't know you.
Well, right. It's also just being more curious than judgmental. That's the other part. That's the other big part of it, is being more curious than judgmental about people's experiences and wanting to actually know, to getting to know them on a more individual level, rather than subscribing to or placing these like larger whatever stereotypes, yada yada, however you want to, qualifiers on them before getting to know them. But that's also, once again, going back to the American way of boxes and
so many folks don't know how much they don't know, and which is, but like I'm eager to tell you.
Yes.
So
yeah.
So act up.
Please ask. But yeah, but also leave me alone.
Right. At the exact same part.
At the same time, leave me the fuck alone.
We don't even have to speak. Like you know what? Like misgender me, and then I'm gonna move on, and then we'll never talk. Like I don't need to have a teaching moment.
Yeah, not every moment needs to be a breakdown about like, so no. Oh my god, I can't. God, just like reeling. But no. Oh my god, I'm loving this conversation so much. How are you feeling about it? I don't usually do a check-in, but we're gonna do a check-in.
I'm feeling great. It's just really sweet.
Are you wishing you had another old style? The way I just said that. You're like, can I please? It's like, no.
Well,
we're almost done.
Okay, no, look at me. Look at me. Well, now that you asked,
it's like we're gonna stop the whole production so we can get another beer. No,
I'm like, I'm sure someone's around. No.
Anyone out there?
I'm like, where's the beer man? The beer ghost.
OMG. No. No. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Well, to be honest with you, we're naturally sort of like come to this area, so I think we're just gonna hit it. But yes, there was one surprise question I told you about. Are you nervous?
I'm brave. Wait,
you know what? This is another thing. Christine, do you have any questions? Anything popped up in your brain that you thought of while we've been talking? No? Okay, no. I'm just curious. Honestly,
Christine's the best producer in the game.
No, yeah, Christine's killing it. Also, you have good questions after the fact sometimes, and I'm just like, damn, I should have asked that. So I figured this is going to be a new segment where I just cut to you really quickly. Also, just going to explain, like, hey, anything that I missed?
Yeah. So, Christine, you should ask.
But no, so I like to, in terms of like wrapping it up and in terms of just like, getting, leaving the people on a note. With everything that we've talked about, with all these different things, is there any words? I call it like the mantra of the week, or like the words of wisdom for the week. But it's just like any sort of positive saying, or like things that you tell yourself or say to yourself when you're like trying to get through difficult situations, or potentially this week. Was there a phrase or like a thinking that you were trying to use? Surprise. No, I'm just kidding.
Definitely there's so many songs that will randomly serve that for me. The most recent one that I'm thinking of is like My Way by Frank Sinatra.
Oh, really?
Because
yeah.
you know, we're just moving like through this world, and like we make these like mistakes, and I just like the least that I can do is like know that I did it my way, is that I like honored my desires, my boundaries, like even if I like, and like I like wanted to make a world for me, like so I think like that that lyric be hitting me. I like, you know, like at least I did it my way, because I think it's so important to make space for yourself. Listeners across the world, it's so important, like each of us, like our own way, and then you know, so I think it's just a really nice lyric. Yeah.
No, yeah, I totally feel that. Okay, have you ever heard? Sorry, this because it's just we've got a little bit of time, so I'm just gonna whatever write it out. But okay, yes to that song. But also, have you ever heard? Do you know the band Sparks?
Not by name. No.
They've got they also have a song called My Way, but it's kind of what we've touched on. You should listen to it because it's like, when do I get to sing my way?
Hey.
When do I get to feel like Sinatra felt? When do
Holy
I get to
shit.
sing my yes in
shit.
heaven or hell?
Wow.
Yes. Okay, but okay.
That's
so
lovely. Yeah.
yes, but it made me
Sparks
think of
My
that
Way.
too because yeah, it's just like a band that was spent decades musically just trying to like fight for like their position within and be respected. But so oh my god, such a great full circle moment.
That's so
But,
awesome.
Yes.
That
Oh
you
my god,
thought of
I
that
truly love these. I'm
song.
gonna listen to both of those. I'm honestly just gonna listen to those
Me in the
back
car.
and forth. Yeah, just
on
like
the way home.
yeah. Yes, but yeah. Yeah, that's oh my god, such a great way to end this show today. Now, okay, I did sing that little bit of the song, but I feel like we have to go out today. We're just gonna sing the last verse of My Way. If you wanna just we can just hit it really quick. I did it my way. You wanna do that or no?
Can you do it?
Okay, well I just did it, but I'll do it again.
Thank you.
You don't want to sing it? You're like, you got to pay for that.
I really want to hear you. I just want to hear you sing it.
Okay, well, this has been another episode. No, don't worry.
Kenya's
It's
not
coming.
giving it to you.
No. You just wait. Just wait. I'm setting it up. Well, this has been another really awesome episode of Failure. Thank you so much, DMV, for being on the show. Anything you want to promote? This will be coming out in the next like late April, May times. Anything that you're working on, just like in general, you want to just plug real quick in addition to
For
that?
sure. Yeah, just follow me on social media on Twitter at Debbie Marie B, DEBBIE MARIE, last name B. Yep, got him. And then you have a little underscore or whatever. And then on Instagram, that's also my following. You can keep up with shows I have. I usually have 1 or 2 a month. And I also post my articles regularly on Twitter. And I do like a little roundup every couple months on Instagram. So yeah.
Hell yeah. Well, on that note, this has been another episode of Failure with Kenya Alon, a podcast for losers. And all I got to say is, I did it my way. Oh my god, I did it. Bye. It could be worse.